Hey there, my name is Cassie Torresillas, and 8 years ago, I launched my own online graphic design studio and booked a one-way ticket to travel the world in pursuit of my own freedom-filled life. I now own a multi-million-dollar online business, The Bucket List Bombshells, teaching other women how to do the same, alongside my best friend, co-founder, and podcast co-host, Shay Brown. Around here, we believe that your crazy dreams aren't crazy, and that it's time for you to start creating the life and career that you dream about too. Whether you want to travel and work remotely, or simply just want to be your own boss, it's possible to live out your passion and purpose without just scraping by. We know that this path isn't always easy to navigate though, so we're here to help you. From making a career change, starting and growing your own business, balancing life and business, and most importantly, pursuing your own freedom-filled life. Get ready for real, relatable stories and advice on your journey towards something more. We serve it up BFF style, so pour yourself that third cup of coffee and let's dive in. Welcome to the Freedom-Filled Life Podcast. Welcome, everybody, to the Freedom Filled Life podcast and another episode with me, your host, Shay, co-founder and CEO of the Bucket List Bombshells. Today, I'm going to be sitting down with one of our former students, current Bucket List Bombshells collective member, and incredible, amazing website designer, Kat. She just got back recently from Mexico, so let's celebrate with her. She just got married, so if everybody can give a little celebration Kat's way. I love it. I'm excited to sit down with her and discuss how she got started and how you can follow in her footsteps as well. So before we get into your full story, I'd love for you to tell us a little bit about the business that you currently own and the services that you're offering.
So I own Siren By Design studios, where I do Showit web design for creative entrepreneurs and service-based businesses. Working with Showit is absolutely amazing. It's completely drag and drop for the most part. You can code with it if you want to for further customization. What I really, really love about it though is the mobile version of your website versus the desktop version of your website is completely independent of each other, but also because it's drag and drop, it's so easy. My clients are able to easily maintain their website without having to hire another designer to come in and fix things if they ever want to change things up or change pictures. It's a simple click, and I help them with that. So yeah, that's what I do.
That's amazing. I love that. Yeah, we switched over to Showit as well, I think about 2 years ago now, and definitely so much more design power. I felt like so much more flexibility. Although as a techie, WordPress is kind of still my jam because I like the template, like more of the templated stuff. And I know there are Showit templates, but for you creatives, I am just loving seeing the sites that Showit designers are creating. They're just so, I think, unique because at least from what I can see in the back end, we can place anything anywhere we want. Whereas when I started out as a website designer and we used like templates and blocks, it was very much, we could only manipulate the blocks unless we were a developer. So that's really cool that there's just so much new flexibility and creativity with a platform like that. And it sounds like you empower your clients to actually do their own website maintenance. Is this something that you teach them at the end, or is it just a very intuitive platform?
Yeah, so it is a very intuitive platform, and I find it very simple to use. But of course, if you're not a web designer, it can be complicated. So what I actually do for my clients is after working with me, not for me, after working with me, what I do for them is I give them access to my all my lessons and my breakdowns and it's just quick little videos that they'll have lifetime access to, that just teaches them, this is how you change a photo. This is how you will change this color throughout the entire website if you wanted to change like one of your core colors. So just things like that. And it's really helpful for them. And it's also really helpful for me because then I'm not constantly getting bombarded with questions on how to do a simple little change. It's all right there for them. And if they have somebody else, maybe an assistant or a VA, like working on their website for them, they'll be able to give them the login and they can go in and they can see all of my education library.
I love that. Just so easy, streamlined, and such a great way to empower clients. For those of you listening as website designers, I really highly recommend some form of a tutorial library or resource library for your clients. Also, I do know that some of my coaching clients charge for that as well. They charge for an ongoing monthly fee for clients to have access, and they regularly update that resource library, just as a couple other new kind of tips and tricks I've been seeing out there.
Yeah, it's not right now there's no charge for it. Like my clients, if you're my client, you're always going to have free access to that. However, within the next year, I'm actually going to be selling access to it, along with like the templates that I'm launching as well. So
yeah, I love that.
Yeah.
So important to be adding different revenue streams to your business as you grow. And I love that you're already thinking about that as you're growing your business this year. So that's amazing. I've been having some conversations recently in the collective with people trying to decide on their name for their business. And I know that you have a really unique name, Siren by Design. And I was curious if there is a story behind that, or if you plucked it out of the air and decided this is my business name.
Well, with Siren by Design, I had a really, really hard time coming up with my business name. And it was just all about the freedom of just mermaids and like how free they are to, even though they are mythical creatures, right? But how free they are to just live their lives and, you know, travel the ocean. And I'm just like, I'm going to be a siren by design, and I'm going to give my siren call to help other business owners so that they can be sirens too. Siren by design.
I love that. Thank you for sharing. I know mermaids are mythical, but they are my spirit animal, I like to say. So super fun. Okay, let's get into a little bit more about your story. So I'm curious, let's rewind and go back a bit. How and when did you start your business? Was this a decision a choice you always knew you wanted to make, getting into website design, becoming your own boss, or is it something that happened like a catalyst in your life that made that change for you? How did you get into your own online business?
It was honestly a catalyst. It was COVID. I know there's a lot of other business owners out there that had to deal with COVID, that when COVID happened, they suddenly started their business. For me, I was always happy, just like not owning a business. And I remember like when I was in my 20s, I had people be like, you should own a business. And it was like, absolutely not. I don't want that responsibility. Like the boss can do that, and I could be over here having the time of my life. But and at the time I was working as a construction worker. I was doing drywall. I was doing like drywall in the frigid winter, in the heat of the summer, right? I was the only girl on the crew, and it was a great time working with those guys, and the world got shut down except for like our job site. And I got my period really bad one day, and I'm like, I'm just going to use this to my advantage. And for the first time ever, I said, I'm not feeling well. I can't come in. They then hit me with, you can't come in for 2 weeks because of COVID. Previously, up until those 2 weeks, I had a friend who had been talking about the bucket list bombshells like forever and ever and ever and ever and ever. And I wanted to take your course. During this 2 weeks, you guys went on sale. And I'm like, I called Craig, my foreman, and I'm like, I'm never coming back. I started the course, and yeah, it's just kind of been a whirlwind ever since. So like that's like, I guess, the really long version of my story.
And yet, so you were our Bucket List Bombshells courses student, and now you are a member of the Bucket List Bombshells Collective, which is the next stage. So we really talk a lot about growth within this community. So our courses are for launching. Our second stage is for growing. And so as a member, I know that you are undergoing or have recently launched a rebrand and a refocus on your service offerings. So I'm curious for those listening and are thinking about doing a rebrand, what brought you to this decision to up level, and what advice can you provide other service-based business owners who are refining their brand, their audience, their messaging?
So like when I first started, I was really like all over the place. I do have like a background. I do have a background in graphic design. I went to school for it. So that's come really in handy. That's mainly where I learned Adobe Illustrator from. But it was just, I was all over the place because I was like, oh, I know how to, write copy. Oh, I know how to design logos. I know how to put together like branding. I can make stickers. I can do a printed brochure, right? I can do a website. Like I can do everything, right? So it just came to be too much. And like, how do you market all of that? Like, I'm not an agency, I'm one person. And there are girls out there that do it. And it's like, oh my God, how are you? How? But for me, I really needed to calm down and take a step back and look at what it is I wanted to do. And the thing is with Showit, I really, really do enjoy web design, and I enjoy working with Showit. So it's become my favorite platform. So I decided to niche down into that. When it comes to branding and graphic design, I will do branding for my clients that don't have branding to go along with their website. But for me to sell branding services on their own, that's not something I'm going to do. But I do make sure that any client that does need branding, that they have like a complete all around brand that's coming with branding guidelines and like a branding board for them after, so that they can stay on brand. And I might even make like social media templates for them or special things for that, like certain things for them. But my main focus is web design, and I'm only selling one package now. And it's my Showit website design package, and everything else is an upgrade to that. So if you want to add more to it, you definitely can. But I have one base package, and it's just easier to manage that way.
I love that. So with this streamlining into one package, one service, probably easier to pitch, but are there any other benefits that you've seen so far for yourself, just for running your business, for marketing your business, since you've niched and refined?
Yeah, in terms of like other benefits, like it's easier to just tell people what I do now. Like, instead of being like, yeah, I'm basically a jack of all trades. But it's definitely a lot easier to tell people what I'm doing, and explaining what I do. It's easier to pitch your services. It's easier to find clients, right? Because now I'm not looking for anyone and everyone who has a business. No, I'm looking like, do you have a website? Does your website look good? Could it be better? Do you need a website? That's who I'm looking for. And it's made my process so much easier.
Yeah, I love that. So it sounds like there were some challenges that you faced within your business. Like you said, you were offering a lot of different services. You got really clear, and now it's made finding and landing clients easier. What are some other challenges that you faced when you first got started, and how did you overcome those?
Some other challenges I would say that I've faced would have been definitely like explaining it to my parents what I'm doing. That I'm just taking an online course that's not like a university program or like a college, and like people do it all over the world, and it's a thing, mom, and like I can do it. So just overcoming that, but also just like really overcoming imposter syndrome for me was a really, really, really hard thing. It actually took me a really long time to finish the design skills course, and the tech skills course, because I was constantly like looking at all of the beautiful work that other students in the course had done and posted within your Facebook group. And then having my graphic design background, if I did something and I thought it wasn't good enough, that would be it. I'd scrap the whole thing and I'd be like, absolutely not, right? Like mine has to, like, and this is so toxic, but I would be like, mine has to be better than hers. Like it has to be, like I went to school for graphic design. So just that, having that little perfectionist monster on your shoulder just constantly like whispering in your ear, has really like held me back. It's also like held me back for a long time from like saying that I am a website designer. Like it was only, I think it was only like 6-7 months ago that like I've confidently been able to like say what my profession is and what I do, and that I do own my own business without being really shy about it and unsure about it. And it's just that was definitely the hardest thing for me. And I wish I didn't do that, because if you do that, what ends up happening is you end up just like holding yourself back. Like if I actually like just would have been like, okay, these are just portfolio projects, whatever, like this isn't a real client. Like granted, with real clients, I'm such a perfectionist as well. But when it came to like those portfolio projects and things, if I would have just posted them and continued and then just started my client search and started doing my thing, I think I would have been here a lot sooner than it took me to get here. I'm not, if that makes sense. I'm not sure.
It does. Yeah, no, it's such a beautiful reminder, because a lot of people in my audience, and probably a lot of our listeners, go through imposter syndrome. So it's always nice to hear when someone else is going through it as well. So what were some of the tools that you used or ways that you overcome it, which is just so beautiful to even hear you speak about that, because I know when you started a year ago in the collective, that was something you were working on. And so what have been the tools or the resources that you use to shift that mindset?
Well, one of the things that actually really helped me shift it is my husband, my now new husband. Hey. But my husband James, like he's been very like loving and supportive like throughout everything that I do. Being a member of the collective has also really, really helped with like the connections and the conversations I've made in there. It's also helped me realize that like I'm not the only one who has imposter syndrome, because for the most part, I was always like on the outside, like looking in, like, how is it that this girl's got her shit together constantly? Right. And just like everything's perfect. Like, still, there's girls on Instagram that I follow that I see some of their stuff and like they do what I do. And like I have to like, nope, I have to like mute them, shut that down. I can't look at it. So just being confident in my work, making sure that I'm taking breaks, because like that's when it gets the worst, is when you're not taking breaks and you're just constantly like, you've got your face like 2 inches away from your computer screen and you're like, just come on, like do what I want to do, right? And then you just get so frustrated, and then just no matter what you do, everything you do, you think just sucks. But really, you just need to start taking breaks, and you just need to realize that you're not the only person that's like dealing with it. And nobody's perfect. And it's art. It's art. Art is subjective.
I love that, because it is art. It is a creative visual element, and it is not something that necessarily needs to be as criticized. And once you find your own, you stop criticizing it internally, you find your own style and you say, this is what I like, this is my design style.
it is kind of going back to your niching. It's now going to be easier to attract clients who are attracted to your style. If you're trying to do it to appease everybody or look like someone else that you see online, then that is going to be to your detriment because you're putting yourself in a creative box instead of allowing your creativity to flow and then finding your own eye and style, which is, I think, going to then attract clients that want to work with you for that reason.
That's actually a perfect way to put it. And I actually even have that in my contracts. It says there's a box in my contracts that says web design is a form of art and art is subjective and you are hiring this designer. This is not the way it's like, I'm sure it's worded differently, like it's worded more fully, but like you are hiring this designer based off of her work, and you understand that not all works look the same and you may not get the same results, and it's initial here.
Yes, I think we've all found different clauses over the years that we all uniquely have in our contract. So that's also a great tip too. Don't be afraid to add something to a contract if you are very, you want the client working with you to know that this is something specific to you and something important to you. Contracts are made to be edited and added to. So that was such a great tip there. So as we're wrapping up here, I have a couple other questions for you. So one of those being, if you had to pick just one thing, what do you think has contributed the most to your business growth and success?
Honestly, the collective.
Oh,
Honestly, like before, okay, so like what I joined last year when you launched it. When did you launch it? Like February?
We launched it in exactly. We launched it at the end of February. So March was the first month of content.
Okay. So I think that's when I joined it. Okay. So I did join it. And honestly, I was doing absolutely horribly when I joined. My cat, my best friend, my soulmate of like 14 years up and passed away, and I'm still not over her. But I was at a place in my business where I had no idea what the heck I was doing, and I was still trying to figure it out. And I was seeing the advertisements for the collective that like you guys had started putting up, and I was like, okay, maybe this is going to help me. Not only did it like help me niche down, do my like within my business, make friends. I ended up getting to be a host on the circle chats, which was friggin' wild. And I ended up making some pretty amazing friends. Jazz was at my wedding last week, which was amazing. That was my first time meeting her. And now we're planning a trip to Tulum, like craziness. But yeah, honestly, it was the collective, and it helped me with my business like crazy. So
amazing. Well, it has been such an honor to see you grow and develop your business and yourself, and a lot of the personal self-development that you've done this year within the collective as well. And it's been so fun to be your mentor through that this year. So full circle moment having you on the podcast here to share your story with everybody. So thank you.
Thank you. I would never imagine I would have been here. Like if you would have told me when I was like just toying with the idea of like taking your course that I would be here one day, I was just like, I would never believe that.
I love that. I've had lots of those moments myself. So my final question to you is one that I ask all of our guests, and that is, what piece of advice do you have for someone who wants to live a freedom-filled life?
My best piece of advice to somebody who wants to live a freedom-filled life is follow your heart. Like seriously, just follow your heart, live that freedom-filled life, like do whatever it is you need to do to make it happen. Like everybody else's, like your freedom-filled life could be a completely different version of what mine is. But for me, like I can get up and travel and go whenever I want. And that's the freedom that I want. And I have like a husband who's so supportive. He's like, okay, babe, I'll see you in 2 weeks if I do decide to go somewhere. But just, I guess it's not about me. It's more about the question. And I'm so sorry.
No, that's okay. It's an answer within itself, I think.
I guess so. But just, honestly, just like follow your heart and don't give up. And don't give up, and things are going to get hard, and there's going to be people that are just like, what are you doing? Or like, you shouldn't be doing this or whatever. As long as like your heart's in the right place and you have a plan, like don't just go willy-nilly. Definitely have a plan. You should be good in a little while, but it might not be great right away, but eventually if you just keep going, you'll get there.
Amazing. Thank you so much for sharing all of the insights and your journey with us today. So if those listeners wanted to connect with you off this podcast, where can they find you?
You can find me at on my website, which is www.sirenbydesignstudios.com. I'm also on TikTok, Pinterest, and Instagram, although I don't post very much. Like I'm kind of taking a break from that stuff, but you can message me there. You can check me out. Instagram, Pinterest, Facebook, TikTok at Siren by Design. And those are all me. And yeah.
Fantastic. I know that you do have a freebie to offer our audience today as well. Can you tell us a little bit about that? And I'll include it in the show notes.
So I actually have a guide for anybody that's looking to get that website launched. It's called 5 Steps to a Successful Website Launch. And this guide is going to walk you through everything from getting a domain name, picking out your pictures, copywriting, all that juicy good stuff, right up into building your site. So if you're interested, big guide. I worked really, really hard on this. So like I'm kind of obsessed with it. So if you guys want to check that out, Shay is going to drop that in the show notes, I'm assuming, for you guys. And I'd love for you guys to take advantage of that.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much for being here, Kat. And thank you, everybody who tuned in to another episode of the Freedom Filled Life podcast. I will see you around the communities. Bye.
The Freedom Filled Life podcast is brought to you by the Bucket List Bombshells. It's hosted by me, Cassie Torresillas, and my co-host, Shay Brown. If you loved today's episode, we'd be so grateful if you left us a review. Reviews help us spread the word about the Freedom Filled Life podcast, and they're a key part of sharing the show with other women who believe they're made for more. Until next week, keep on pursuing your own freedom-filled life.